What's up guys, welcome back to another video, and today I'm going to be talking about how the COD community wants Black Ops 7 to fail. So let's get into it. Now, I've never seen a game get more hate than this. You know, prior to this Call of Duty game, the one that got the most hate was Infinite Warfare. It is the most disliked trailer on YouTube. And, you know, Infinite Warfare made sense. Because another year of EXO COD was not what we wanted. No one in the community wanted it. And EXO COD was generally hated by like 60% of the community. Nobody wanted jetpacks in Call of Duty. They never belonged. This game is getting way more hate than Infinite Warfare is. And it's a better game than Infinite Warfare. Most certainly is. I can tell by the way that it plays. And the map design, like everything about it is just better than a game like that. I would even argue that it's better than Modern Warfare 2019. That's a game that a lot of people were dick riding, and it had some of the worst multiplayer maps in COD history. You know, you had stuff like Asshair Cave, Piccadilly, Grozna Raid. Dude, those are three of the worst maps to ever, like, come to Call of Duty. Those bigger maps like that sucked fucking wiener, okay? Big maps have always sucked in Call of Duty. Look at a game like MW2, the original. Two of the most hated maps, two of the most skipped maps on that game were Derail and Wasteland. Why was that? Because they were big maps where you couldn't see shit and they just weren't fun to play on. Yeah, the best COD maps are medium to small size maps. They always have been. And I'd say most of the community would probably agree on that. Most people don't like the bigger maps. You know, and Black Ops 6 made all small maps, which pissed people off because then there was no variety. You have to have some medium-sized maps. Medium and small mix, usually good. This game has that. They also got rid of the tack sprint that everybody was crying about. So now you have a more classic style of movement with like standard sliding. It's not even as intense as the other games where people are just slide canceling all around the map. The movement feels more like Black Ops 4, okay? And even though BO4 was not the best game out there, I thought the 150 health was one of the worst things ever because it made the TTK way too long. There's people bitching about, oh, the time to kill was fast. It's like, yeah, the time to kill was fast in the older Call of Duty games. That's what made them good. That's what gave it an arcadey feel to it. The only people that bitch about that are the competitive players because they get mad when they lose matches to a casual player. Because they have to realize that they're not going to win everything. They're like, you know, mommy's spoiled little fucking brat that always got the win at Monopoly because the parents were pussies and never taught their kid how to lose. That's how a lot of those guys act. I've heard these people in lobbies when they lose to a more casual team that's definitely not sweating as hard and they're just playing better, they're using strategy, they're just the better player than you. Just because you're sweating harder does not mean that you are the better fucking player. It means that you're trying harder. But are you really achieving more by doing it? Not always, because I've seen teams that hold down zones and domination and camp the fuck out of them and take an absolute shit all over people like this. So, again, it's a fan base that is just very petty about everything. That's why the game has truly been so shitty for the past so many years, because you have two sides of the community. You have these new gen players that just want to sweat their asses off, and then you have the older players like me, who've been playing the game for over 15 years. We're just trying to get on and have fun, and that's why skill-based matchmaking exists. I've tried to explain this before. Skill-based matchmaking is not killing Call of Duty. It's not killing any modern shooter. X-Defiant was one of the worst FPS games I ever played in my entire life. You know, the game sucked. It had some of the worst hit detection and netcode ever in existence of FPS games. And it had no skill-based matchmaking on it. None, except for the introductory playlists. But the main part of the game, once you got past a certain level, had no skill-based matchmaking. It was sweatier than Black Ops 7 could ever dream to be. I know because I played the game for 2 months, and the game failed because no one wanted to play it because of all the issues that it had with it. This game has very minimal issues in terms of performance, okay? So, how is it that this is the worst game ever when it's actually pretty decent? They make no good claims aside from, oh, they're going to bring back the stupid skins from Black Ops 6, even though there's no carry forward. So, again, how do you know that all of those skins are going to come back? And by the stupid skins, I mean like the Nicki Minaj and like the turtles and all that shit. They already basically said that they weren't going to add those skins into the game. So if that's what they're saying, that's what we have to go off of. And again, I get it. Trusting Activision is definitely not a smart move. But at the end of the day, that's all we can go off of right now. The game's not even out yet. We have no idea what it's truly going to be in the future. So if that's your only claims of why the game is so bad, and it has minimal performance issues aside from the packet burst, which, you know, it is shitty, but I tried to explain to people that the only reason that you're going to experience that is because you weren't able to change your graphics settings in the beta. And if you can't change your graphics settings, there is a chance that your game might not perform as well. Because some people who are on more middle-of-the-line PCs like me need to turn our shit down to medium, or maybe even low in certain cases, to make the game run more efficiently. At the end of the day, graphics are not something I care about more than performance. The older Call of Duty games didn't have the best graphics in the world, but they had very good performance. Very minimal packet burst. I don't think I ever even knew what packet burst was back in the old days. I had no fucking clue what that shit was. You know? That's something that has become a problem with these modern games because of the high graphics and how hard they actually push your system to run it. So if you turn that stuff down, chances are you're not going to have packet bursts that often. Because people used to bitch about that in Cold War all the time. I ran my game on medium settings for Cold War. I barely ever got packet burst. And I would have known because I had all the settings turned on that allowed me to monitor everything going on. Just like people tried to say, oh, you need to turn motion blur off. You can't even upload a video if you have motion blur on. First of all, I don't have motion blur on. I went through all my settings, and I didn't see motion blur turned on anywhere. Okay? Went through all the settings. Because obviously, to play a game that I had never played before, what do you think you have to do first? You have to go through and change your settings to what you think they need to be. So obviously, something like motion blur, which makes games virtually unplayable, I would have turned off. And it definitely wasn't on, okay? Because I went through the settings and I know what I had set on for things. Like, it definitely wasn't on. So trying to make false claims to discredit somebody doesn't work either. Because at the end of the day, that means that you're lying because you want Battlefield 6 to absolutely destroy this game, which I don't think it's going to, okay? Everybody knows that the COD rage baiters and all the wimps out here crying about shit, it's not going to kill the game. Black Ops 7 is still going to sell something pretty well. It's still going to sell millions of copies. Is it going to sell more than Battlefield 6? Probably not. But at the end of the day, it's still going to sell a lot of copies, and it's still going to have a decent player base on it because not everybody wants to play Battlefield. Did you ever think of that? You know, not everybody wants to play it. Now, personally, I go either way. I like both franchises. I think Battlefield's fine. I think COD is okay. You know, I don't really have an issue with either of them. I've played both games growing up. But honestly, I like COD more. I like the smaller maps and the faster gameplay, the higher time to kill. No vehicles. That's what I'm into. But if this game sucked so bad to where I thought it was unplayable, I'd be the first one to tell you that, and I would be right on board with everyone else saying, oh, buy Battlefield. Don't buy the new COD game. But again, I didn't really have any personal issues with the game itself. So, you know, I just feel like the community is so set on wanting this game to fail that it just doesn't even make any sense to me. So, anyways, I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you in the next one.